So I'm Teresa Stepler. I'm going to moderate this session. I have with me my colleague Uzier Orgulu from the University of Wisconsin. And we really want to continue on the conversations that we started this morning, talking about how to support at-risk scholars in our own institutions and our own communities. So we had a really good opening to that through the Scholar Rescue Fund presentation this morning, and now we want to have a chance to discuss those ideas even further in an interactive format. So the goals for today are to first raise awareness of the needs of at-risk scholars among the academic community and to identify concrete ways of supporting them, to collaboratively identify gaps and ways to improve existing programs, and then, of course, to form new connections and possibly even to seed new collaborations in this space. So the way this is going to go is we're going to have introductions and go over the workshop goals, which I just did. I will say our other colleague, Burju Saibin, unfortunately is not able to join us. She was going to participate remotely, but technical difficulties seem to have gotten the best of us, unfortunately. So hopefully Uzier's experiences can speak to the at-risk scholar experience. I'll give one example of an initiative that I've been working on through the Global Young Academy to support at-risk scholars. Uzier will share his experience. We'll have time for questions. And then I want to break out into different groups to discuss some different questions, and then reconvene and sort of synthesize what the groups discussed individually so that we benefit from all of your ideas. And just to start, I think many of you know this, but just so we know what we're talking about, I think it's important to say that when I say at-risk scholar, what I mean is a member of the research community who has been displaced from their home country due to threat or due to violence for any reason. So most of the scholars that we've been working with have already relocated to a different host country where they are physically safe, but they're still in a very precarious situation because often the posts are temporary positions through fellowships. And so these are the community that we're talking about today. So just to kind of get you thinking, I want to tee off the questions that I wanted us to address. And if there's not enough people in each group, we can kind of condense these down. But the questions I thought of were, how can universities and research institutions support at-risk scholars based there? And how can the broader scholar community support at-risk scholars based around the world, including in low and middle income countries? So there seems to be more support and maybe more networks for scholars in North America and Europe, but maybe less so for those based in other countries. And then finally, how can we improve mentorship programs for at-risk scholars? And what are some of the key factors that we might want to uniquely consider for this group? So just to start, I mentioned the Global Young Academy and the At-Risk Scholar Initiative. So first, just to tell you what the Global Young Academy is, this is a worldwide network of 200 early and mid-career scientists and scholars from 83 different countries. And the idea is this group of people is committed to ensuring that science serves society around the world and ensuring that the voice of young scientists is included in the conversation in various aspects. So the Global Young Academy membership is open annually, and members are competitively selected not only based on academic excellence, as is the case for any merit-based academy, but also for their demonstrated commitment for science to serve society. And this is really important. And so it provides a way to sort of mobilize talent from across the globe on different science-related issues and member-led initiatives, including this one. So we know that there's an urgent need to support at-risk scholars. We have no idea actually how many there are, but we know that the situation has never been worse than it is right now. And I really think that as members of the research community, the scholar community, it's really our job to support our colleagues in this situation. And so, as the Young Academy, our colleagues, we consider especially the early career and middle career researchers, because these are our peers. And so we've been focusing most on the younger or early career researchers. And so what this is it's a mentorship and membership program designed to support exceptional early career researchers that have been displaced in continuing or in reestablishing their research careers. So we are trying to provide support to these displaced colleagues to reestablish themselves in their new host country to regain their research and continue their career. And this is really important because we cannot let our colleagues in other countries be lost. We need them, we need their expertise, and we need them to be able to rebuild the countries when hopefully these threats are ended. So the way this works is we basically get referred early career scholars through our partners. These include Scholar Rescue Fund, Scholars at Risk, TWAS, and then we pair those at-risk scholars with a member of the Global Young Academy community. And then we've also been working on providing professional development workshops that support these scholars in reestablishing their careers. So we've had 2 so far. And again, the idea is integrating into the new research environment, learning the culture, the research expectations in the new host country, which there can be huge barriers, as we know. So we had one in April in Ispra, Italy, with the EU Joint Research Commission, and then just recently in partnership with Wolfson College at Oxford University and CARA. And this second one is the first year of a 6-year partnership to put on annual workshops for at-risk scholars at Wolfson. And we're hoping that we could seek funding to put on other workshops in other regions of the world as well with partners. So far we have 30 mentor at-risk scholar pairs, so 30 Global Young Academy members paired with at-risk scholars. And I would say some of the achievements over the last 2 years or so have been that these scholars have been competitively selected as Global Young Academy members. So I think one of the emerging themes from this conference that I'm seeing is the importance of networks. So we need to be part of networks, scholarly networks, in order to maintain legitimacy and reputation in the research community. And so these types of things like membership in a society or in the Global Young Academy, they might not seem like a lot, but it can actually open doors. So that's really important. Again, participation in workshops, assistance with CVs, applications and interviews, invitations for professional speaking, featuring in the media if they would like, co-authoring articles. And then I think what's emerging as the most important benefit is really the friendship and the support, just generally knowing that you can pick up the phone and someone will be there. And so with that, I would say that the mentors actually benefit too. So this is through cultural fluency, professional collaboration, and of course, friendship. And this is what we're seeing. Some of the challenges are for mentors explaining what we can and cannot provide. So these mentors are not trained as psychologists or tax experts or legal advisors, but we do know how the academic systems in our countries work, and that's what we can help with. For mentees, sometimes we need to be honest that we should help look for opportunities outside of academia, where it's not always possible to stay within academia, and helping people find opportunities outside, for example, in industry or elsewhere. And then just for the program, it's completely volunteer-based. So this is not my job. This is what I do on the side, and that's the case with everybody involved. And then, so demand definitely exceeds capacity. There's much more need for mentorship, as the Scholar Rescue Fund presentation highlighted, than we have available volunteers. So that's why we need more help, and I think part of that is just raising awareness within our own communities about what's needed. And then sometimes there's a mismatch between the mentee's technical background or country and the mentors that we have available. We're seeing a lot coming that are based in North America, whereas our membership is global. And so many of our potential mentors are based in, say, Asia, and then they don't really have a match because they're not able to advise on like the US academic system, for example. So trying to correct that. And then many of the mentees are from the humanities. They're from all fields, but I would say most are from the humanities, whereas our membership tends to be stronger in the life and physical sciences, social sciences. So this has been some of the challenges, but still, despite this, we see that many mentees just need general support, and that it doesn't actually matter if they're from a completely different field. So for the future, again, we want to design additional professional development workshops. We want to expand partnerships so that we harness our members within the Global South who also want to help. We want to encourage programs to support at-risk scholars in other young academies. So there's this whole movement of national young academies around the world. And the reason I'm focusing on them is just simply because those are natural partners as the Global Young Academy. But for you, you might think about your own networks and how to amplify the work you're doing. And then finally, we'd like to evaluate the program and think about how we can maximize our impact. This is the website for the Global Young Academy and the initiative. It's run by myself and my colleague in Canada, Carly Kehoe. And then we do have support from the office in the form of a staff member named Jennifer Plout that we're very thankful for. And then again, here's the questions we're going to talk about in a little bit. But first, I want to turn it over to Uzier to share his experience. And then after that, if you could just hold any questions now, and then we can have a little bit of a discussion after his presentation. Thank you.
I got it. Okay. Hello, everyone. So I'm going to share my experiences from a scholar at risk point of view. I want to start with a quote from Shawshank Redemption. You might know that movie. As far as I know, the top-rated movie from IMDb. So statement says, hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. And then I'm going to share some numbers with you about displaced people. Actually, I looked the numbers of displaced scholars, but I couldn't find any data or statistics. But at least giving these numbers may give us a little bit sense what's happening in the world, what's happening on the globe. When you look at the data, around 71 million people are displaced around the world. It's kind of population of Turkey. A whole country is displaced. And this number is kind of highest number of people displaced since World War II. And in this world where we live, a person is lost or displaced every 2 seconds. It's a fact, it's a reality, and we should think about those numbers. And I'm going to share my own story as a displaced scholar. First of all, nobody expects to be displaced, to live his own home or own country. So nobody is ready for this huge life change. All of a sudden, it comes. And you have to get used to that situation without any preparation. So psychologically, emotionally, socially, economically, professionally, devastating. And all of a sudden, overnight, your physical and social identity lost. Even losing your social identity is really, really depressive. It's really devastating. It's really frustrating because you build your social identity for 40 years, but overnight you lost everything. Your 40-year investment all of a sudden gone. And after 40 years or 30 years, it is not easy to build or make a new life in a different culture, in a different country, with no mental or economical or physical or social preparation, because you are not ready. And we are forced to start making a new life from not zero, but low below than zero. I would say minus 20, minus 30, because you are an adult. You already built something else in your own culture, but then you have to leave everything that you build up in your culture and move on to another culture. And my own story, I graduated from one of the best colleges in my country, which is Turkey. My master's and PhD in gifted education. I was a department chair of special education in my country. My university, my college, sent me to this country to do some research about my field. And while I was studying here, that failed coup attempt happened, and I couldn't go back to my country. And I had to build a new life in this country. And a month after the coup attempt, I was dismissed. I was purged, I was fired, and then the police raided my house at 6 a.m. I was here. And when they came to my house was empty. There was nobody in my house. And they broke my house door. They raided my house. Even I don't know right now what they got from my house, but the doorman told me they got my old phones, some CDs, and after that incursion, my family went to a police station, and those guys didn't tell anything about why they raided my house. Still, formally, I don't know why they raided my house, but they broke my door and searched my house. And some numbers about Turkey, if you don't know what happened. So far, around 150,000 professionals, including doctors, professors, judges, are dismissed. And around 100,000 people arrested, again, including professors, doctors, teachers, and around 6,000 academicians lost their jobs. And nearly 10% of whole professors in the country. Again, another number about academician or academics. 60,000 students are displaced. Here, around 9,000 academic personnel dismissed, and 15 private universities are closed in the country. And by the way, these numbers have been increasing each day. Still today, every day, some people are arrested, including professors, again, teachers, doctors, including educated people. in the country. And this is kind of tragic-comic thing. Just 1 month before that coup attempt, my university, my college, School of Education, gave me this award. Because of my academic research as the most productive professor at the college. But just after that coup attempt, they erased my name on the website. And when they gave me this award, I was here. Even I didn't know about this award. And, the fact doesn't change by deleting the fact from the website. That's the fact. I was the most productive professor in my college, in my school. But they erased just my name from the website, from the news. And of course, I was getting paid by the college in the country, so my financial support was gone. I was so confused, I was so depressed, I was so disappointed. I was kind of fish out of water. I didn't know anything about this country. I didn't know how to survive in this country. So, first of all, at least I had to survive this country. And I needed to make some money to survive here. So I started looking for at least a part-time job. And I found a part-time job about fixing phones. This is the kiosk where I was working. And I didn't know anything about phones, by the way. But I learned in 2 weeks. And I started fixing phones. In the mornings, I was going to the mall. In the afternoons, I was going to my college, to my research. And when there was no customers at the kiosk, I was searching online to find something or someone about my field or to get some help from other colleges, universities, or some institutions. And all of a sudden, I saw Scholar Rescue Fund, but by chance. And I sent them my application papers. After asking me thousands and thousands of questions, much more than Homeland Security asked, and then they accepted my application. It was kind of turning point of my life. Honestly, I had lost my hope in academia. I was planning to survive in this country out of the academia. But after getting this found, again, my hope, again, came true or came alive. And they, of course, financially, socially supported me for 2 years. And then, a much better hope, I applied. I learned about Harvard Scholar at Risk program and applied for that, and they also accepted me, contacting with SRF, and of course, working at Harvard is kind of big door for me. I worked at Harvard for 1 year. I did some research. I wrote, I guess, 4 papers at Harvard, but that contract was 1 year. I was approaching the end of the year, and I was getting worried about my next year, because I had to find another institution. At least I had a financial support from SRF, but I had to find an institution. So, and I didn't know many scholars in my field, but I had to reach out to those professors in my field, which is gifted education. Then I came up an idea, and I opened up all gifted education journals. And I looked at the editorial team of those journals, and I started emailing them, saying, my situation is, I have a financial support, can I work with you? And most of them, thankfully, gotten back to me, but just one of them accepted me. Dr. Pamela Klingbeard, she was going to sabbatical, so she was looking for someone for 1 year. And with her help, I started to teach at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. And that year was my first year teaching in this country. And thankfully, teaching was much, much better than I expected. Even my students chose me as a professor who has had a positive impact on their time on campus. And students said about me, I was helpful, encouraging, and supportive. After 1 year, with the help of professors at the University of Whitewater, I was able to find another position at, again, under the same system, but another campus at University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. Right now, I am teaching at the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. This is my short experience. And then, Global Young Academy provided me a mentor, Laura Fierce. We talk together through phone, Skype, or email. Whenever I need to chat, I can call her. She's always ready to help me, even though her field is different. I guess she's from engineering. Even though we never met each other in person, but I am so comfortable to reach out to her. I don't know who she is, but I can call her. So, in my life here, these 4 ladies are my angels to make a life in this country. I cannot forget these. Not limited to these guys, but they are really important for me. Dr. Dorothy Sisk, she's a professor where I was working in Texas. Daniela Alperin from SRF, Jane Unruh from Harvard Scholar at Risk, and Laura Fierce from Global Young Academy. Again, these people in my second life in this country. And I'm going to touch a little bit possible struggles of displaced scholars. First of all, you may know this hierarchy, Maslow's needs hierarchy. So first of all, we need to meet basic needs of those people, which are physical needs and safety needs, belonging needs. These are really important. Yeah. We had to stay in this country, but are we sure we feel we belong to this country, we belong to this country, we belong to this culture? Or are you sure that we feel safe in this country? Are you sure we are still scared about our family in our country? So we need to, first of all, make sure that those basic needs are met. And then we can do something about our professional studies, our professional field. So first of all, we need something or someone to lean on, because we are kind of lost in the middle of nowhere from our point of view. And again, we need not just academic support, but at first, daily life support is crucial, because all of a sudden, you are in a different world. Financial support, legal support, health support, social support are really crucial. You already know, for example, health system in this country is so complicated. I want to say another word, but it's not appropriate here. Or insurance system, or our legal issues. Our legal issues is kind of so complicated that we need some specialized attorney or lawyer. And just ordinary or regular lawyers cannot handle with our special situations. What kind of support might be more helpful for future displaced scholars? There are gonna be more displaced scholars for sure. So first of all, you should keep their hopes alive. If the hope dies, then it might be too late to save that scholar. Hope is really important. An adjustment to new culture, again, before starting or doing something in their professional field. Language support is really important. Even they might know English, but again, to speak fluently, you need to live in that culture. You need to understand some humors or some jokes. You have to live in that culture. Otherwise, when you speak English, you are kind of reading a book, academic book. And information about vital things, getting driver license, health insurance, credit cards, bank works, papers, and also sometimes you may need to hold their hands and to take them to the hospital, to the driver license office. Sometimes you may assume that we already know everything. No, we are just came here. And even we don't know let's say we don't know the public transportation system, we don't know the driver license thing, we don't know about legal papers. And this point is really important. We already lost our confidence. We are already disappointed. We are already frustrated. That's why we need to be forced or pushed a little bit to get in the system again. So also, I will say trivial things, but vital things. For example, shopping, getting a car, eating food, finding an apartment. These things look like trivial or unimportant, but they are important. For example, for us, for the first time, it's really difficult to find or rent an apartment because you need, some credit scores. You need to give some, I would say, your background. You need to give them your social number, but we may not have social number. And to me, mentoring is really important, maybe the most effective support in the long run, after meeting those basic needs. Because in mentoring, you are kind of one-to-one relationship. Especially knowing you have someone you could ask anything gives you a confidence and courage to do something else. And then networking. The scholars may not know many scholars in their field, in the country. You already know doing research might require collaboration and cooperation. They need to get to know other scholars in their field. That's why informing about conferences, research grants, job positions, and providing encouragement for participation in those events is vital. Because displaced scholars might tend to be shy or discouraged to participate in those events. Because they are broken. They already lost their hope. That's why they need encouragement. They need to hear, okay, you can do that. Just go for it. And another thing, job application. Countries have different hiring systems. For example, in Turkey, we never write a cover letter or teaching statement or research statement. Just the government hires us. That's it. Then you don't need to write cover letter or research statement and teaching statement. And there are some tricks to write those papers. That's why displaced scholars need those knowledge. For example, how to respond in an interview. For example, 2 years ago, I got an interview. It was terrible, horrible, but it's a good experience for me. Another, I would say this is maybe our biggest issue. To me, there might be a lot of, or many professors who want to be a volunteer for mentoring or helping displaced scholars, but I don't know why we have a problem to reach out those professors. That's why there are people in need out there, and there are people out there who are willing to help, but we have a matching problem. I don't know, maybe using online opportunities. Right now, it's really easy. I mean, using Skype or other technological opportunities. Then, for example, mentoring would be much easier than the past. But to me, matching is kind of right now problem in front of us. And another thing, alumni system is important. Establishing alumni system with former fellows who are displaced, and using those displaced fellows to help other displaced scholars is really, really crucial. Because, for example, I can feel what it feels. I can feel what being displaced hurts, how hurts. And I have some experience here. So those institutions like SRF or Scholar at Risk or Global Young Academy should use us or use their former fellows to help future displaced scholars. I'm going to stop here. Thanks so much. Thanks so much.
If anyone has any questions, if you could please go to the mics. If you have anything you wanted to ask. Yes, would you use the microphone? It's okay.
Hi, thanks for telling us your saga, and congratulations on all that you've accomplished in very difficult circumstances. I'm curious as to how your colleagues at the two institutions where you've taught have helped you in terms of orienting you to the culture of the institutions, in terms of integrating you in the local academic community, in terms of suggestions for next steps.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, they helped me a lot. But again, they might have some problems how to handle our situations. But what I see, they are so willing to help us. But again, they need some maybe knowledge, they need some skills, or they need some awareness how to handle with our specific situations. For example, maybe last year, professors in my college maybe first time saw someone like me. For example, sometimes I ask them about my health insurance, but they couldn't figure out anything else because my case was so specific. But they are so willing to help me, I would say.
I have a comment concerning matching, particularly in the life sciences, which I'm very familiar with. And particularly for junior faculty, there is extraordinary pressure on them to get their own funding, which is very difficult through NIH, NSF, and involves quite a lot of funds in a laboratory setting. So the situation is a bit different. They would be dissuaded from becoming involved in any volunteer activity. Even tenured professors are under extreme pressure to do so. But there may be a problem matching young scholars in the life sciences, in this country at least, given the pressures that they're under, which often require mentorship from senior faculty. I'm mentioning some people who are junior faculty because of the pressures on them. But I think there are more senior professors, not a part of the younger group that you're looking for, but who are more willing to mentor. It's just a comment.
Actually, the pressures are not, as you know, the pressures are not only in the life sciences, but I actually respectfully disagree, because I just think that this is our duty as scientists and as members of the academic community to support our colleagues who really need it, and it is rewarding, and it goes, it's just part of being a human being. And
I completely agree with you. I think it is our duty.
So the matching, it's actually a capacity issue from my perspective. So it's not that we can't find potential mentors. It's the capacity of the volunteers to make matches and follow up on those matches and all of that. But it's not that we can't find enough willing people to do it, I would say. And I also, to your point, I agree. I think everyone needs mentorship. So junior faculty in the United States, from the United States, definitely also need to find their own mentors, and then they themselves can also be mentors to at-risk scholars. And I think that makes you yourself an even better mentor.
So just sort of a few follow-up thoughts on the last comment. So one of the things I remember having a discussion with my dissertation advisor, who commented that the landscape has changed so much since the good old days when he started in academia, that sometimes he, as a senior established faculty, had difficulty advising on particular challenges. But I think another thing that comes in is how junior faculty aren't only expected to show research and funding accomplishment, but have to show that they're somehow doing service and such to establish themselves in the field. And wondering what the best mechanism is for giving them something that they can show as recognition.
Right, incentives, yeah. Right, that goes to university cultures and how tenure and promotion decisions are made, and I think those are separate but linked discussions that are really important. But also, you remind me, I think sometimes the peer mentorship is nice. Senior faculty are also great, and they provide an important perspective, but sometimes having a peer really, who's been applying most recently and might, have a recent cover letter example they could share, whereas a more senior faculty member might have, they've had their job for some time, and they might not, have noticed if some trends have been changing, if there's more emphasis on certain things. For example, diversity statements are pretty common now, just an example off my head of what might not have been the case when the more senior faculty were applying. And so maybe junior faculty could help advise on things like that. Anything else? No. Okay. Question, yes. Yes. Would you be able to come to the mic?
This is my teaching voice. I think it will.
Okay.
If you could come to the mic after her, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for the presentation. I know it was quite, a struggle for you to adjust. But there was no mentioning of your family. Have you been able to connect with any of your family since you've been in the United States?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, my family, my daughter and my wife, 3 years ago tried to come to this country, but at the airport, even after giving their luggage, at the police point, the police got their passport and they confiscated their passport. That's why right now they are not able to get out of the country. And this is not my family case. Right now, a lot of people, thousands of people, don't have their passport. Even my passport is confiscated, but this country doesn't care. That's why I'm able to use my passport in this country. But right now, I know my own passport is also confiscated. So right now, they cannot go out country. But at least I'm able to talk to them through Skype or other applications. But especially when that coup attempt happened, even my close family was so scared to talk to me. I mean, my colleagues still don't talk to me because of the scare, because they are really scared. Even my family, my close family, my brothers, sisters, couldn't talk to me because they are so scared of the government. Because obviously, they think government listens to all phone calls and everything. Even they think, especially Turkish people think that Turkish government is able to track all Skype phones or internet calls, everything. And when I was talking to my family, we were talking about daily stuff, not about government or not about those kinds of things, just daily trivial things about weather or about school, something like that. And from the US point of view, they were able to come here because US gave all important or papers or required papers. Even though they have those required papers from the US government, they cannot go out because of the passport.
So this is a compelling and inspiring story. Thank you. I would like to know if there's more information available about Harvard's Scholars at Risk program, how it's organized, how it's funded, and if other universities have such things. I'm wondering if I could consider having our university start such a thing.
That's great. Just that was one of the things on that list. If everyone's done signing that, if that could come up here too. But I wonder if anyone, maybe you could give your perspective since you did the fellowship. But if anyone else knows of other universities with a similar program, I personally don't. Okay. James. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, that might be my biggest criticism about those guys, SRF or Global Young Academy. Maybe they should be a little bit more public. People or displaced scholars don't know what SRF is, don't know what Scholar at Risk is, and how they can reach out those institutions. Even myself, by chance, searching online, I found the SRF or Scholar at Risk. And Harvard Scholar at Risk works kind of like SRF works. They support financially, also they support professionally, especially the manager of that program. She's really amazing, and she helps us with everything. For example, I remember she held my hand and she took me to the health, or she took me to the doctor. Okay, here is the doctor you should use when you have any problem. But also another problem might be just that program, that office is interested in what are you doing. Other professors or other people may not know about Scholar at Risk program, but based on my experiences, that was really great program, and it really helped me with the help of SRF together.
And of course, universities can always host a scholar through Scholar Rescue Fund too, in addition to if you wanted to start your own program at your university. But this is maybe a easier, quicker way even to get started. But James, were you going to mention? Could you use the microphone?
I think Harvard Scholars at Risk is a unique program, and it's been around for I think 15 or 20 years, and they allocate funding from within the university, as far as I understand it. We have partnerships with other universities whereby at the level of the provost or the president's office, for example, a certain set amount of funding is set aside each year to work with Scholars Fund Fellows. So at Rutgers University, for example, they host 3 to 4 of our scholars annually. Other institutions are able to do that as well. So if you're interested, Matt, I could definitely chat with you about how that might work.
Okay, so if there's no more questions, I was wondering if we could try to break into some groups to discuss some of these questions, because I think there's a lot of experience in the room, and we'd like to hear your ideas too. So, actually, let me go to this one. Yeah. So, how can our host universities and research institutions where at-risk scholars are actually physically based, like if they're on a fellowship, how can we better support scholars there? At the front of the room, in the middle, how can the broader scholar community be supported around the world through like remote mentoring or other opportunities like that? And then how can we improve our mentorship programs that exist now based on some of the experiences that we've heard? So if you don't mind moving quickly into one of these that you are most interested in, if we could just discuss for a few minutes, and then if someone wants to capture the key ideas, we can just hear them briefly in a few minutes. Okay, thank you. So I think that there was a main focus on the first question, if I'm correct. How can our host universities and research institutions support at-risk scholars that are located there? And we know, as the Scholar Rescue Fund this presentation this morning highlighted, many faculty and students on campus might not even know that there's at-risk scholars on their campuses. So one thing is raising awareness, right? But what else can we do? So what did anyone want to volunteer? Yes, that would be best. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so there was a group of about 7 of us, I think, that were sitting here, and a couple from the Scholars Rescue Fund, right? Yeah. And others from university. So I was the outlier. I'm not from a university. But the first point was a lack of awareness about scholars in the universities and in the departments where they would go. And then there's a problem, we talked a lot about this acceptance of a scholar, because in some cases you're hiring, it's like hiring somebody, and there's a whole process for hiring or bringing someone into the institution. So this person is coming in a different manner from what you would normally do. So there would have to be some, I don't know if they jump through hoops, but there would have to be some worked out so that he could do that, especially if they are a state university where you've got funds that are being used for that as well. So that's complex. It's not impossible, but it's complex. And then there was also discussion about some of the 50-50 partnership in the fund and the operation. So bureaucracy. I think that was really where we kind of came to was
the last one was like a
was
matching
this
funds.
bureaucracy. Oh yeah, and then there may be a need for matching
funds.
Yeah, and a big issue of bureaucracy that you have to do. So I think those are the
Navigating the
major
bureaucracy.
points, other than what you had mentioned earlier.
I think one of the things was try making sure that we can show the value to the university.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's a very, that's no moral sense, and more than dollars and cents.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Okay. Did anyone else have any other last points that they wanted to share before we close about anything related?
Hey. About mentorship programs, not that we didn't talk about this many times, but...
But I know you know about this, yeah.
Yeah. But I would say one thing that maybe was not mentioned that much. It was mentioned today during our morning discussion, but I think it's really important to prepare mentors for mentoring. It is not hard. It's very easy to be a mentor. But I think with just a little bit of information given in advance, it can get much better results. And we have learned a lot doing this, and have some lessons learned, and would be happy to share with whoever is interested. And I think it also, another point, mentoring is much easier than you think it is.
Yeah.
And it's so much more gratifying
Yeah.
than you think it would be.
Yeah.
It is a very easy way to accomplish something very important. You are affecting just one person's life, but just affecting that person, it can have a huge effect to all the other people that are connected to that person, and just generally have a big impact on that community. So it is very easy, but just with a couple of basic instructions at the beginning, I think can be a very successful activity.
That's absolutely right. And so what we do is we try to set expectations from the beginning with both the mentors and the mentees. The mentors, too, it's important to set expectations because sometimes we feel like we're not helping enough, or we can really help. And so we have to manage expectations on both sides. We created a little handbook that we give them, and one of the things this includes is like considerations of confidentiality, gender issues, and like cultural context, and then like a suggested agenda for the first Skype. So how do you start, and just like building this relationship. We also have a Skype with all of our mentors before they start to kind of go over this, the goals, what's expected. and answer any of their questions, and then we routinely follow up with all of them. And that's kind of what I meant about the scaling, because we're at 30 pairs now, and we're all volunteers, and us managing the program are volunteers, so it starts to become a lot to kind of keep track and like, okay, is this person still in touch with this person? Or is this everything okay with these pair over here? So like thinking about how this scales and how, or you know, how we get the most out of the program. But that's a really good point. Did you want to say anything? Okay. Okay, well, thank you all so much. We really appreciate your time today and sharing your ideas with us, and hope you enjoyed. Thank you.